To our third recording, moving on to Pasuk Daled. Pasuk Daled begins, Simlat techa lo baleta me'alecha. Moshe Rabbeinu is continuing to talk to Bnei Israel, and he's saying, the clothes that you were wearing did not wear out. Ve'raglecha lo batseka, nor did your feet swell. But batseka lashon batsek. Batsek in Hebrew is like dough. So, dough rises, so your feet didn't swell traveling Ze'ar Ba'im Shana for 40 years. So what is the purpose of this pasuk? Why was Moshe Rabbeinu saying this? So Rashi says there's clear miracles that took place here, especially with regards to the clothing. He says, Simlatecha lo baleta me'alecha, the clothes did not wear out, and he explains why. Ananei kavod hayu shafim bichsutam, that these clouds of glory, the clouds that led Bnei Israel throughout the desert for 40 years, they would rub off the dirt, umegahatzim otam, and bleach them, kemin keli megoatzim, so they looked like brand new white pieces of clothing, like when you put it in and bleached them like a perfect, came out of the cleaners. It was amazing, amazing miracle. Not only that, ve'af ketanehem kemo shehayu gdelim haya gadel levushani mahem. The children who left Egypt, they didn't have to buy new clothing as they grew and grew taller and grew wider, because the clothing grew with them. It was a double miracle here. Not only did the clothes remain clean because of the Ananei Kavod, but also the clothing grew larger with them as they grew. Just like the clothing of like the shell of a snail, which grows with it. We know that a snail, as it grows, the shell grows with it. So too, the clothing of the little kids grew with them as well. So that's how Rashi explains it. This was all miraculous. The Ibn Ezra, who's known to take more of a literal approach, he quotes Rashi's opinion, not fully, but he says, Yesh omrim derech ot. Some say, this was a miraculous sign, this whole concept of the clothing not wearing out. Va'acherim omrim, but others say no. But others say it wasn't miraculous. Ki hotziu malbushim rabim. He says that the Jews, just when they left Egypt, they took out a lot of clothing. They brought out of Egypt many articles of clothing, and that's why their clothing didn't wear out. So yes, it was a blessing that God allowed them to take out the clothing and much of it and many articles of clothing, but not necessarily a miracle. And then he gives a third opinion, which he claims to be his favorite opinion. Ve'yitachen, the probable explanation is she'en betoladat Haman leholid ze'ah. He says the beauty of the man is that when you eat it, you don't feel sweaty. You don't perspire. So he's saying that, first of all, food is often the cause of perspiration. Obviously, we know that working out and running is a big cause of perspiration, but food also. We perspire throughout the day, we don't even realize it. So food is one of the causes. That the man had this ability not to bring you to perspiration. So if you're not perspiring, if you're not sweating, then your clothing is not getting dirty, okay, and it's not getting worn out. So because that was also something that happened. So beautiful explanation there by the Ibn Ezra. So he gives three explanations. One, he brings the explanation of Ot, of a wonders, miraculous sign, like Rashi says. He says, two, that he had a lot of clothing. And three, he says that the man caused you not to sweat, and therefore your clothes lasted longer. What does he say about the Ibn Ezra? Says about the foot, lo batzeka, v'raglecha lo batzeka. He says that your foot did not swell. That's what the pasuk says. So he said, why were they deserving of this miracle? He says, migizrat vayofu et habatzek, because the Jewish people baked the dough of matzah right before they left. They were rewarded that their feet wouldn't swell. Right? They baked the dough. Batzek, we said, was dough. So at merit of that mitzvah, their feet did not swell. Why? Ki minhag regel haorech shehalach ragle derech rav shinafchu raglav. Because normally, when a person is traveling a long distance, his feet swell, he gets blisters, it's very painful, and here it's not happening. Right? That was the miracle. How did that miracle happen? Because they got it as a merit for baking the batzek, baking the dough when leaving Egypt. But then he says that was the miraculous explanation. But like I said, Ibn Ezra often just looks at things more literally, and he says ve'yitachen. It could be the probable explanation. Shenatan lahem Hashem koach O holicham at. Right? It could be that either Hakadosh Baruch Hu gave them extra endurance, meaning they had this innate power to continue walking and not affecting their feet, and that was given by God, or He made them walk slowly. If you walk really, really slowly, there's a good chance that your feet are not going to swell, and that's what He said is the reason of why it didn't swell. Just one more thing, the Chizkuni here on the concept of Simlatecha lo baleta me'alecha. He says very nice over here. Look what he says. He says, although you have traveled a long distance in the desert for almost 40 years, God has made certain that your clothing did not need replacing. And the lesson is, Chizkuni writes, when you observe Hashem's commandments, you will not need all the things that ordinary people require in order to live on this earth comfortably. If He was able to look after you in an uninhabitable desert, how much more so can He look after you in inhabitable areas of the earth? That's a very, very deep commentary. We're going to read it again on your own, and you'll answer questions following this recording, and that will be posted on a later date. But keep that in mind.